had a really nice video planned for you guys, but turns out that my GoPro erased pretty much all of the footage. So as you guys can see, my Mark 1 Rabbit, this has been a family project for forever, and we finally got it all dialed in, working out, fired up. You see I got the Fueltech in there. Everything is still a mess because we just got it running. So it's running well now, and I've been tuning stuff, and you know, I got the fuel pump, I have the battery wire that's still going through. That's gonna be back here in the trunk. All this has to be finished and tidied up. It's still a ton to do. I was trying to make you guys a video of one, doing the hydromat in the gas tank. I'll put a little clip like right here. And then I was also trying to show you guys like the turbo kit and stuff like that. That got deleted. So yeah, it's oh well. But the number one thing I was trying to show you guys was how to build a Fueltech harness from scratch for this chassis. I did it. And unfortunately, all that footage got just overwritten. Hopefully you guys just stick around and you can kind of watch what we have and how the car came to life. So we have a Coil K-Series radiator in the front, and then I have a big heat exchanger. I made a little reservoir over here. I have E85 sensor back there. This is a GC4092, I believe it is. We are using all the regular 2.8 24 valve coils. So this is fully sequential ignition and injection. The motor's built. I built it a long time ago, and we finally got to hear it run, and we couldn't be more happy. Everything's tight. It's a Mark 1 engine bay. Hopefully you guys are as excited about this project as we are. Get ready to hear those cams. Those are the biggest hydraulic cams you can get. They're 298s. Footage roll now, and we'll get you guys back to this point running. I've done a lot more wiring, more just off camera stuff, because it takes way too long. Here's how the coil harness is gonna look. And I have the injector coil harness on this side. So that's all taped up, ready to go. I'm confident in all that, so I don't have to really test it. Down here, I just wanna run through everything again. And I do wanna test it, but I am going to just put all the split loom over it. So then that way it's easier to tape up if it's all good. You can see I added in the turbo feed line. That's on there. Oil cooler stuff's done. Every sensor, I have the OEM pressure sensor going to the OEM cluster. And we're also gonna have the OEM alternator wire coming, because that comes from the body like light harness. So that's a totally separate harness that'll go over there. We did run all the wiring that needed to go over here. So we have the flex fuel sensor there. I'm not happy with these fuel lines, but it's like, I really just want to get it started. So we're trying to get it started. We have a deadline, so we are just using what's around. So like this is PTFE. These are just regular 6AN. Like it's just in there. It's gonna work though. We have the reservoir for the water to air intercooler completely mounted over here. I do still have to make one line. I have to put some clamps on here, but that goes down to the intercooler pump, which I'm testing this out. This is just an aux water pump off of Mark III. All the intercooler stuff is made. The hardest part about this swap is Mark 1s. Everything is spot welded on. I've thought long and hard about drilling this and putting bolts and stuff, but the reason why that's an issue is because you have to have the rad in here first, then the intake manifold. So if the radiator's bad, you got to take the intake manifold off. It's a huge pain. Everything's tight. There's no space in a Mark 1. Really should just have a 4-cylinder in it, but subject for another day. Standard Mark, this is a Mark 2 coolant bottle, because you can see it has that hole in the top for the level sensor. So I have an OEM one that Zach gave me a while ago. So I'll be able to throw that in there and won't have any issues with coolant light, because this car does not have a coolant level sensor, because it's just old. I got pretty much all the wiring ran. I just have to run a few wires. Remember, we have to put the battery in the back because of the air to water. I'm not happy about putting the battery in the trunk, but that's the only way it's gonna work. I have an OEM 3.6 battery cable. So that's going from here, and that just came out of the Passat that I got the 3.6 originally out of. So
was able to save that. It's gonna go all the way back to the trunk. We have plenty of length. And all we have to do from there is run some 10 gauge wire, or actually this is 8 gauge. And this is gonna go from the OEM Passat fuse box. So this will go up to the fuse box up here. We'll have fuses in the back on the battery, just like a normal B6, B7 Passat. They're in the back. Jamie's under there putting the fuel pump in. We got a bunch of other things done, like I made the turbo return, so that's in. Got the turbo feed in, so all that should be good. Put the valve cover on for good. We filled it up with oil, so there's no easy oil leaks, like pan's not leaking, nothing like that. Everything down there sorted. I took the tensioner off because putting these short runner intakes on, they just suck, so I'll fight with that. I'll probably have to remove the alternator. If I do, that'll be a huge pain, but there's just no space in here. I'll just show you guys kind of a little bit on the wiring inside when we get there, probably when it's light out. I just really want to turn the key and be able to make sure that all the sensors work, like drive-by-wire, all the pressure sensors we added, and we have to test all these fuel lines because I made these fuel lines a long time ago, and I'm talking about the fuel lines up to right here, and then all these I just made, and these were just eBay things that were left over from work, and they're not great, so hopefully they don't leak. That's the biggest thing. You can see why a lot of these project cars never get done. It's very, very, very time consuming. So I don't know what the next update will be, but just stick around. I'm sure there'll be something. It's now the morning. I got everything coolant wise done. This is what I always do for rad fans. This is like a Corrado fan switch. These take like 10 gauge wire, which is plenty for pretty much any fan. So you supply 12 volts directly from starter, battery, whatever, with a fuse in line. So you always have power going to a fan switch. And you take another 10 gauge from each of these. If you had one fan, you would just go to the low stage, but if you have two fans, I set it up in 2 stages. So one of these goes to one fan, one of this goes to another fan. So then one fan kicks on, and then once it gets hotter, 2 fans are on. It's as simple as it gets. This is an M22 thread pitch, and I just weld it to any sort of aluminum tee you can get. We did put the intake manifold on for good. We also got the cooling system totally done. We had a couple issues where the fuel pump was dead and leaking, so we had to get a new one, but that's all good now, and a couple fittings were messed up. All that's good. I threw just a random up pipe on just because I don't have time to make an exhaust or anything like that, so it's not a big deal. What we're doing for the battery, it's just gonna be right here. I don't think there's any other place I can really put it. I'll probably get like a Mark V battery box. So I got a negative coming right off of there, and then I drilled a hole into the quarter panel right here, or a quarter panel wheel well. That's like 3 pieces of metal, so it's nice and thick. The positive, I have that Passat battery cable, the factory Passat fuse box. This usually sits on top of the battery, but I'm just gonna kind of mount it like that. The reason I like this is because I can use all of these fuses built in. So I have 2 10 gauge wires. These are gonna go all the way to the front. Not really all the way to the front, but they're gonna go to the fuse box right there. I have 2 wires right there. I'll show you in a second. And then the other side, this one I put it as a 40 amp, and it's going to a relay block, and this will be for the fuel pump. So this wire right here will be triggered from the ECU, and then when I get it back there, I just gotta add in the wire to the pump, put a relay on it, and fuel pump setup's done. And then you also get a, you know, the normal Volkswagen battery terminal on the top, so that's good. And then you can always add stuff to this if you have to later down the road. I spent a good amount of time in here already. It's not the prettiest thing. I want to get this running and make sure that everything's going to test right. I just have the Fueltech sitting. That's where, like, if you have a GTI center console, which that is, that's where the 3 gauges would be. The Fueltech's just going to sit right there. It's not a big deal. The only thing I have plugged in really from this harness, the interior harness, is just the ignition switch. That's all we should need right now. I was able to reuse all of the OEM relay panels in the car. I'm using 3 of them. This blue one is going to be for my coils and ECU. So that one's there. This gray one, this one I'm going to be using for the intercooler pump. So the one Fueltech wire is going in that, and that's just going to tell it to turn on when, I don't know, when a car starts or something like that. This green one, and this will be for injector power and E85 and the O2 sensor. So all that'll be on that. And then the great part about these is that they're OEM. So you have all these little tangs and stuff. So it'll just snap into the top of the fuse box and it'll look OEM. For all of them, I have these Mark III fuse holders. And they also clip onto these. So it's perfect, you know what I mean? Like, so this is fuse power right here for this relay. It's nice and simple. And the only power wires I have to run are 2. Well, technically it's 3, but I'm using just 2 connection points. So these are for the fuse box power. So it comes through these blue and green connectors and it runs through. And this other one right here goes directly to the front of the fuse box. So I have 2 powers right there. These just got to be hooked up to the battery. So these will be constant. And it should just, you know, switch to ignition, take care of everything that's needed. I did throw in the cluster. I don't know what's all gonna work right now. We'll see if I turn the key and it works. Wideband's just hanging out. As long as it's sort of visible, we should be all right. We will have the Fueltech down there and I will have the laptop out. I'm gonna run these big power cables to the back of the car and then finish the wiring on the fuel pump because I just have it hanging out down here. Again, I'm just getting it to run. None of this is final placement for any of the power stuff. I just loaded the ECU up. Let's see, I have my map right there. Should be on for 3 seconds. There it goes. Nothing's on the dash. That kind of sucks. We're getting further along. We just got the throttle body figured out. So go ahead, Jamie. A little bit. All the way. And now that we know it works, there's an option in here because you can hear it's just sitting there humming away. Turn it off until the engine's running. Confirm, right to ECU. I'm gonna check some other stuff out and then we might get to cranking it. We're going to get oil pressure. This is a brand new motor. You don't wanna just fire it instantly. You'll mess something up. So all the spark plugs are out. And you can see I have rags over everything because we built this motor like 5 years ago. So I just sprayed some oil down in there. Just throw some rags over it in this cardboard box. This will catch it. I have the dashboard, so this tells me everything, and I'm just sitting here watching for oil pressure. So as long as it cranks over and I get oil pressure, next step would be to put in spark plugs, put in fuel injectors, and try to start it. Come on, oil pressure. There it is. Keep going. Keep going. It's building now. You could also hear an audible change. There we go. It's climbing. 30. Get it up to 40. Alright, we're good. Nothing's on the ground. So we just got all the oil pressure we needed. 40 PSI, just cranking. Everything's good. We're gonna clean up. Then we'll get back to testing even more stuff. Are you crying already? It's been a very long time. If we can start this up tonight, I really think it's gonna start. We'll see you in a minute. We're testing the coils again. Turns out I messed up and I accidentally wired them to a red top coil pack. So if you're using a red top coil pack, it has a totally different wiring than these 24 valves. So now I got it all switched over. Now we can double check every coil. So go ahead and do one. Hear it, good to go. Okay, that's good. Good, good, 4, good, 6. Next thing to do is to crank it for cam synchronization. which I'll show you that here in a second. That's really easy to do. We can leave the injectors unplugged for now. All you do is just have someone crank the engine and you click save, and that's it. Good. Should I try again? Alright, shut it off. Look, the turbo's still going. Are you excited?
Yeah, it's a long time.
I know. The kids loved it too. There's still a ton left to do. We built this motor back in our old house, our first house we bought. I don't even know if, I think Vi might have been a baby.
No, she was.
She might not have even been born.
She wasn't born. She was in my belly.
Yeah,
We
so.
were born it the day after we got married.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a very long time. So I'm very excited. There's still so much more to do. The thing sounded so nasty with those cams. I told you buying those cams was the right move. Give me a like, comment, and subscribe, and in the next one we'll be doing more work on this. So.